It's 17:06 GMT. This is Bola Mosoro with Focus on Africa from the BBC World Service. Let's go to Tanzania next, where President John Magufuli set tongues wagging over the weekend after expressing doubts over the coronavirus test. He said samples of birds and fruits and animals, samples such as goat and sheep from their blood were sent to Tanzania's National Health Laboratory, but he said the samples turned positive for COVID-19 and raised doubts about the efficacy of results from the labs. Well, the country has so far reported 480 cases of COVID-19 and 16 deaths. Freeman Mbowe is the chairman of the opposition Chadema party, which has asked its members to boycott parliament. This was after 3 MPs died of suspected coronavirus. Mr. Mbowe has been telling me about their concerns.
You see, we don't mind if they don't pay our stipends for not attending the parliament, because it's all about our life and not a question of money. But you see, the point of departure between our party, Chadema, and the president and his government is the way they have been managing the whole pandemic in Tanzania. The government or the president himself seems to be in the state of denial. He doesn't want to accept corona as a problem. He sees it as a very small disease out there. He thinks prayers can help solve the problem. But we've been telling him that this is purely scientific things and needs scientific solution. But, you know, the way government is treating this pandemic is definitely going to cause harm to our economy and serious harm to the lives of the people.
So, Mr. Mbowe, as chair of the Chadema opposition, you know there are those who say, well, you know, it's only natural that you would hear an opposition politician saying that. What do you make of the test that he said had been carried out using goat's blood or even fruits like pawpaw in order to see whether these tests could be relied upon?
Now, if the testing kits are faulty, it's the issue of the government, because they should have known about this a long time ago. National Health Laboratories who are conducting the test. And mind you, with only one station in Dar es Salaam that is doing the testing in the whole country of 55 million people. You can imagine, you know, how many samples are flowing into that laboratory in a day. We've so far lost 3 members of parliament, including the minister. He just passed away a few days ago. With the span of 9 days, we've lost 3 members of parliament.
What then do you make of the fact that the director of the Tanzania National Health Laboratory and its quality manager have now been suspended pending investigation? Does that give you cause for concern?
Of course it does. It does, because you normally don't suspend people in the middle of the war. For instance, only last week the president suspended the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Health. He transferred the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Health to another ministry. Then he retired the chief medical officer. This is a person who is in charge of all health program in the country. You suspend such a senior person. Now the chief laboratory director has been suspended. The quality controller has been suspended. Now you're suspending all officials in your own government in the middle of the pandemic. This is definitely of concern to me.
What would your approach then be? How would you like to see COVID-19 fought in Tanzania?
We have advised the government, because this is the question of life and death. For instance, we said we should do some partial lockdown, particularly in Dar es Salaam, which was the epicenter of the problem. The government refused. People are going for religious gatherings. People are going to the market. People are going out as usual. When you don't do the lockdown, people slow down. People tend to slow down. So if you go to Dar es Salaam now, it's possibly 40% of the people have decided to stay home. If you go to the different parts of the country, Kilimanjaro areas, all the tourism have locked down 100%. So many people have been thrown out of employment, and that's a serious problem that is going on in the country. We want the president to come out and accept the real situation, adjust the mindset of the people accordingly. Many people are being infected, many people indeed. When I'm saying many people, it's many people. When they talk about 480 cases, they're not being realistic. The government should come out and tell the truth about the real situation about this pandemic in Tanzania.
Freeman Mbowe, who's chairman of Tanzania's opposition Chadema party.